Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
In regards to the inauguration tomorrow in Washington, D.C., I was thinking, and I want to thank my good friend Jimmy for thinking along with me. If you need 26,000 armed soldiers at your inauguration to protect you from the people, you probably weren't elected by the people. Think about it. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. While we can still say it, call in. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor. They are great people, and I appreciate their support. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires and, like I said, the best of service. And don't forget to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. One more time. Let's have a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Sean, have we got anybody there?
Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And right now, let's skedaddle to the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Hello, Roger and the crew. I'll be looking forward to talking about summertime, springtime equipment, but right now they've got all the equipment, all the tools to finish any kind of a construction project you're working on this winter. They can and they will help you with rental of equipment for both long and short term. Get a hold of them. If you have questions, sure you do. You probably, I don't know if I need this or if I need that. Call them at 678-3122. K&R Rental. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Might see a little snow coming up on the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Looking for sunshine today. Highs are going to be around 36. Mostly clear tonight with a low of 12. For Wednesday, looks like it's going to be sunny, maybe warming up just a touch, a high of 39. For Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low of 20. For Thursday, mostly sunny, a high of 39, and Thursday night, mostly cloudy, low's going to be 23. As we get into Friday, we'll have a 20% chance of snow with a high of 40. Snow continuing on through Friday night with a low of 24, and for Saturday, 20% chance of snow in the morning, then mostly cloudy with a high of 36. Good morning. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather.
Scotty, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Filling in for Gina, and our weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Where are they? 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them, nor should you. They can help you with all the tools and equipment at K&R Rental. In just a minute, we're going to open up the phone lines and take our calls, starting with this morning. But first and foremost, I want to say, you go to the store and you buy these shirts and your pants and your Wranglers and your ladies' blouses and dresses, and you want to take care of them. Well, that means you'd better acquaint yourself with our friends at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy and the staff, they really take care of your clothes. See, you always look nice, look sharp. sharp, feel good. Absolutely. Stop in and see them today. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. One more note I want to give to you folks. And I really give a high five and a salute to these folks. They've been with us all the way back to the inception of this program, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. When I say they have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, that's a fact. That's not bragging. That is absolutely a fact. With the best of people, the most knowledgeable people serving you like they have for 7 decades. Don't put it off. Get a hold of them today, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Just a moment. I got to turn my radio.
Yes. Don't leave that up, please. Thank you.
I hate my telephone. It's a good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning, Keith. Go ahead, please.
Yes. You know, I've known you for years and years, and when you tell me something, I have learned that you have, to give me an answer, you've checked it out, and it's supposed to be the best thing there is. And I found out to work well for me. And, you know, Donald Trump, he would listen to his people, and before he made a promise, he was pretty sure he could do it. And his promises usually came true. This Joe Biden has said he's going to open the borders, and he did this some time ago. And these people have had plenty of time to prepare, and they're on their way. What is he going to do now?
Well, you know something, Keith? A lot of people don't realize that the word must have been passed down to these people in Honduras and other countries. You know, look at it this way. Why would there be over 11,000 people walking towards the United States if somebody hadn't given them the green light that A is okay? You can get across the border right after Biden's 100 days. It's going to be a free-for-all. Come on in. Somebody, somewhere, some group must have said that if Biden wins the election, and you can come on in. There are no stoppages. Make your groups come on to America. This didn't just spring up overnight.
Yeah, and you know, the thing that I've noticed the most, these people seem to be, you know, dressed reasonably well for the conditions and everything.
Yeah.
And they must have bathroom facilities and everything along the way. This thing is well planned.
Well, it's not only well planned, but it's very devious in the inception of how they want to have it finalized. I'm going to give you a speculative opinion, and I don't like to do that, but this is what I think is going to happen after the first 100 days. Our borders will be saturated with people not only from the caravans, but also the illegals wanting to come into this country. It's going to be a just step across the border issue. There will be no adherence to the wall. There will not be any adherence to the border patrol. We are in trouble, and I think that this open borders is going to create absolute dissension in this United States. I am scared.
I am scared also, and as I patiently wait for my shot, guess what? They're going to come to the border, and before they can come in, I suppose they would insist that they have the shot.
You know, you just brought up, no, just a minute. Yeah, just a minute. You brought up something that's so interesting this morning, and I applaud you for doing it. I absolutely, like you, I've been calling some people back in D.C. and New York yesterday, and their concerns are the same as yours. All these people are coming up here with diseases. Yes, they are. They're coming up with COVID. Yes, they are. They're coming up in gangs. Yes, they are. They're coming up here with evil intent. Yes, they are. are. And just like you, they're going to be quarantined at the border supposedly for 14 days, but we, the American taxpayer, are going to foot the bill. And your point about the vaccination, 100% right. Are we going to give vaccinations to them that should be going to our 65 and above in this country? If that's the case, I will say, damn our government for allowing this to happen.
The biggest mistake I can see is when they assured us that they had a stockpile of these shots.
Yeah.
Now, this Fauci, which I would like to step on his neck and until he begged for mercy, but this is just not right.
No, everything. Okay.
It isn't even close to the truth.
All right, well, let's just say it this way. I'm going to let others call in, but Keith, you're right on target. We are going to be witnessing, and I'm going to stand behind this statement, after the inauguration tomorrow and leading up to the first day in office on Thursday. Hold on to your tenny runners, because things are going to get fast and rapid and bad.
Well, I'll tell you what. You've always told them to be very straight, and I'm going to take your advice because I think you're spot on.
I hope I'm wrong. Seriously, Keith, I hope I'm wrong and have egg on my face. But I think that we are going to be seeing some absolutely devastating and worthless ideas employed around us, and I'm scared. God bless you for your call. You always are dependable.
The thing that really scares me, Zeb, is the fact that he's got all these other things, too.
Yeah.
That he's going to do on day one.
Yeah. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I agree with you. Thank you so much, Keith. God bless you. Call back. Thanks.
You bet.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Want to remind everybody about Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. America's Diner. That kind of sums it up. They've got fantastic menu choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a dessert menu. Oh, it's good. And besides all that, they've got really nice people serving you. Absolutely. Thomas and the crew have hit a home run with America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Also, real quick, and I want some more phone calls. Don't weaken on me, folks. I'll just be real blunt about it. I would not be surprised the way the left is going and the way that there is a purging and cleansing that's been recommended by the left against us that are of conservative voice. You better call while you can. Don't forget Dino Septic Service, and they are absolutely the best at what they do. They've got the most modern of equipment serving you for your septic tank pumping and your backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections, sewer and sink drain lines clean. They know what they're doing, bottom line, and they are good. How do I know? They've worked for us. Dino Septic Service with numbers in Rupert 436-6526, Burley 678-1638, and in Twin 735-8281. Don't forget the best working for you. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, in our country today, we've already got tens of thousands of people either in soup lines or living on the streets. And maybe it's time for those people to take up and go to the borders and stop this immigration coming in from the South, because those people coming up here is only going to take their place on the streets and in the soup lines, Zeb, and that's the way I'm looking.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all. As a matter of fact, I think that this attitude of taking care of others from other countries in place of helping our own. Earl, we're just going through the Chinese virus, and damn the Chinese government for what they have done to the world. But we're going through COVID. People have lost their lives. People have lost their family members. People have lost their businesses. People probably financially won't get a chance to recover, and we're going to spend more attention to the laxity on the border and let those people into the country. This is insane.
Yes, Zeb, and there's other people out there taking advantage of this crippled nation today.
Yes, I totally.
It's pathetic what's going on, Zeb.
Well, and somebody chewed me out yesterday on my cell phone and said, "Oh, don't be so theatrical. It's not going to get that bad." I said, "Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't care if we lose our friendship. I am not going to stand by and say it any different, whether it's in regards to our economy. You can't keep borrowing and printing money to the tunes of trillions of dollars, whether it's that or whether it's the border, whether it's the laxity that's going on in our government to take care of its people. I honestly think that we are in for a jolt of electricity that's going to lay a lot of people on the carpet."
Yes, Zeb, and it's worse than bad right now in this country.
I agree. Earl, take care of yourself up on the mountain. Thank you so much.
And thank you and your listeners.
All right, buddy. Thank you much. Caller, I'll be right there with you, I promise. I want to tell everybody, I really, of all the people I have on my program, I do not advertise for anyone that I don't care about their business or I don't think they do a very good business. I've got the cream of the crop, and I mean that. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, the cream of the crop. Idaho's premier home design center. The Cheneys are really, really good people, and they offer the luxury vinyl plank, the carpet, the tile, the hardwoods, the mosaics, countertops, home decor. Whitney, as a matter of fact, she's great at designing and can help you and the beautification of your home. Stop in at the Blue Store at 1300 Overland Avenue in Burley, and that's Cheney Flooring and Home Design. They are good at what they do. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zebber. It's the Burley Senior Center today. It's roast beef, all the trimmings that makes it a great lunch.
I think, Joe, that is my favorite dinner. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, corn, and maybe a fresh biscuit, and top it off with a piece of, let's go peach pie a la mode.
Sounds terrific.
Okay.
I'll be there.
We'll send everybody over to the Senior Center. Joe, God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Lunch at the Senior Center on Overland Avenue. Be sure and stop over and support those good folks, please. I'm telling you that when I listen, and all you have to do is take the time to listen yourself or read and understand what's going on. Our free speech, my ability to talk to you every morning, Monday through Thursday, is right now on the line. The brazen left are demanding that I and others like me that are supportive of Trump's politics, supportive of Trump's opinions and what we saw for the last 4 years with our economy, etc. The left is coming out brazenly and saying that we need to be reprogrammed. We need to be locked away in concentration camps so that we can be reevaluated and re-implement a new school of thought. Am I making this up? No. More and more in the news every day are saying it. And I never did like this lady, and I like her less now, more so than ever, Katie Couric. Remember sweet little cheerleading Katie? Yeah, she was a former cheerleader in high school. On NBC News, well, now that she's a private voice, she's coming out, and she's a very sick woman, saying that we, conservatives, believe in garbage, and that we should be reprogrammed. and get our minds adjusted. That's not the America I grew up in. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Joe Biden will never be my president. I grew up around gangsters and hoods. Where I came from, Joe Biden would fit right in with him. As far as our economy goes, Mary and I were going to put the little extra money we had in some investment. Oh, we are not going to do it. We're going to hang on to what we've got, because I've got a hunch that old Joe Biden is going to get into our bank accounts, our savings accounts, our children's cookie jars. And this is where we're headed.
You know, I was talking to a gentleman that works in D.C. I'm not going to give his name because I don't have his permission, but he's involved in government and works with government think tanks. And he told me basically the same thing that you're worried about. And he's very worried about what's going to happen to our seniors, our elderly in this country, with the savings accounts that they have, the stock portfolios they might have, etc., with their savings. And he basically and blatantly came right out and said, look out, because with an administration like this, they might do anything or everything to help fund their trillions and trillions and trillions of future debt by taking money out of the elderly's hands.
Oh, absolutely. They want to be there. The day you die, they're going to have a death tax on everything, probably a 90% death tax for every piece of property that we old people have got.
Well, right now, I'm going to just hold my buckets of water, I guess, until Thursday of this week. I'm not going to be on the air this week, Thursday, because Deanne has some doctor's appointments and Sharon's going to do the program. But that will give me an ample opportunity to really study and understand what this man, Biden, and his sick, perverted administration are going to lay out and do the first day and for the first 100 days. Tony, I'm very, very concerned.
Well, what I see coming up is that Joe Biden is going to be kicked out. He's not going to hang in there for 2 or 3 months. He couldn't stand the pressure. Then you're going to see Cortez and Harris in charge of the situation. And when that happens, you're going to see a tsunami happen in this country. People are not going to put up with this kind of crap.
You've left out one woman that you should absolutely add to the fray that is very sinister, very dangerous. Who?
The old bag, Nancy Pelosi.
No, Susan Rice.
Oh, she's coming to the surface.
Yes, look out. Look out. Tony, God bless you and Mary. Thank you for your call. Yeah, I know it. Seriously. Take care, my dear friend. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye, Zeb.
You know, there's so much going on in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I never thought that I would sit there and watch television and see the deployment of 26,000. Let me say that number again because it just blows my mind. 26,000 armed National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. for an inauguration. Now, that's not counting the D.C. police and all the Secret Service. Holy smokes. It's almost like, think about this, like we have been submitted to martial law. And I heard a remark on television, and if you did not hear this, I'm going to repeat it for you this morning. It is one of the absolute dumbest people that we have in our Congress today. Tennessee Democrat Steve Cohen. This man, this nincompoop, and that's what he is. No respect for him whatsoever. He suggested that the United States National Guardsmen that are protecting the Capitol ahead of the inauguration tomorrow, they may pose a threat because many or most of them are predominantly conservative, males, and white. Good Lord, what kind of idiocy is being perpetrated upon us from this administration? This jerk, and that's what he is, don't tell me to respect this man, I can't. This jerk came right out and said, quote, the National Guard is 90-some-odd% male, and only 20% of white males voted for Biden. You gotta figure that in the Guard, which is predominantly more conservative, there are probably not more than 25% of the people that are there protecting us that voted for Biden. So in other words, he cast aspersions on the National Guard, and now the Guardsmen are being vetted. They're being vetted. They're being checked out. I've never in my life heard of something as stupid and dangerous as this man, Democratic Tennessee Representative Steve Cohen. That guy should absolutely be run out of D.C. on a rail, tarred and feathered, and accidentally, dropped in the Atlantic Ocean. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, if they use duck feathers, then he might be able to float around for a while.
No, in all seriousness, I'm not even going to get humorous about anything like this. I am incensed, and Sean, we got feedback here again. I am incensed as to the stupidity of this damn Democrat, Steve Cohen.
Yes, very, very. And just think about it. He is wanting basically to cancel anything that was related to Trump. He wants to... He's the one probably that's wanting to send us to re-education camps because we're been Trumpetized.
Yeah. Doug, this is what bothers me about this whole scenario. These people, and there are more than just Steve Cohen, Katie Couric, and others. Look at Don Lemon of CNN. Look at the other commentators on MSNBC and CNN. They are absolutely brazenly coming out and saying that anybody or everybody that believed in Trump's policies or politics or supported him, they are people that we can't have in this country until we have their minds altered.
Exactly. And they're basically, they're useful idiots for the socialists that want to take over this country. There's nothing more dangerous than a smart, stupid person.
Did you ever think in your lifetime, though, Doug, ever in your lifetime, and you're a little younger than I am, that our National Guard, people that put on the uniform to defend our country and put their lives on the line, they would be checked with a loyalty test?
No. But we need to do that with our politicians.
Amen.
I mean, let's put the shoe on the right foot. You need to pass a loyalty test before you can represent the people of America.
Well, you know, what's going on right now, the FBI, and again, Sean, I got a little feedback. It's driving me nuts, please. The FBI is vetting, as we speak, every National Guard member deployed to Washington. And I'm livid. How do you go about vetting a National Guard member? What would you say? Did you vote for Donald Trump? Yes, I did. Are you supportive of his politics? Yes, I am. All right, take your uniform off and go over there. What are they going to do?
Exactly. It is just a ploy to say, oh, look at this hand, look at this shiny object over here, while they're over here on the other side doing their backstabbing and their crooked stuff to enforce socialism on America.
How dare? I mean, maybe this doesn't upset America. Maybe it should upset everybody. Everybody right now should be so teed off that 26,000 National Guard, 26,000. Doug, think of that enormous number that they're sleeping on the floor, they're sleeping on the ground, and then all of a sudden they were forced and coerced into going back and serving in D.C., and now these dumb Democrats are questioning their Americanism?
That exactly. You nailed it right there. You said dumb Democrats. These people think they're smarter than everybody else, but they're not. They're not. They've just been brainwashed. And to all those people out there that believe this should happen and should happen, if you only listen to one side of a story, if you only listen to one news channel, then you're not educated on what's going on. You're brainwashed.
Yeah, but whoa. Stop right there.
There's nothing more powerful than a self-educated mind, and to be educated, you have to look at all sides.
That's right. But to tell people, like Katie Couric and others have done in the last 48 hours, that if you're a Trump supporter or you voted for him or believed in his politics, that we, meaning those elites, have to take you and reprogram you. Whoa, Dougie, that's pretty scary.
It is. Didn't they do that over in Germany?
Yes.
Don't they call what, concentration camp?
And I think...
Don't they do that in China today?
We are a step away from losing not only the Constitution, but the values that our forefathers fought for.
Exactly. They have pushed us to the edge of the cliff. And America, if you want to let them get away with it, then just go ahead and take a step backwards, because we're gone.
You got it. Listen.
If we're going to stand up and fight, then we need to stand up and fight. We need to get a hold of our elected officials and demand that they stand for the Constitution that they swore to uphold from foreign and domestic enemies.
Amen.
Demand that oath of office, they stand by it or they go.
The verbiage that they're using, and caller number 2, don't go away, I'll be right there. The verbiage that they're using is that they want to deprogram us from being a part, and you've heard this, I know you have, being a part of the cult of Donald Trump.
They're so stupid, it's unreal. It is not a cult of Donald Trump. It is putting America first. It is following the Constitution. It is following the rule of law. And it's having equal justice for everybody. That's all we want.
I did not join a cult. I've never been a part of a cult. I've never had any interest in being in a cult. I'm a white Christian male that believes in conservatism. And if that's part of being a cult, bring it on, baby, because you and I are going to have a lot of problems.
And you missed one thing there. You're proud of this nation.
You'd better believe it. Doug, thank you so much.
You know, everybody, we need to stand up. Get a hold of your officials and demand that they represent you,
Amen.
Not their conscience.
Amen.
They represent you,
Amen.
the American people. So let's take care of our senior centers. I know I'm like a broken record, but they need help.
Yep.
They need to help feed these inbound seniors homebound that can't go out, and that costs money. And if you could just donate $10 a month to them, or write them a one-time check once a year, but help them out what you can.
Absolutely.
And go there and eat and leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
God bless you, man. Thank you much. Caller number 2, I'm so sorry you've been waiting for a while. Just hang on. I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental. Where are they located? Well, I'll tell you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location for all the big equipment you need. Whether it's the Bobcats, they've got them all in shapes and sizes. They've got all the trenchers, the scissor lifts. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. They have outstanding standing rental programs. And I urge you, if you need to rent a piece of equipment, you get in there today. And if you're not sure how to drive it, they'll teach you. Barry Equipment and Rental. Absolutely. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know those, oh crap, all of a sudden my mind went blank. Our military that's in Washington, D.C.
The National Guard.
I hope they are 100% loyal to the oath they took to uphold the Constitution, because we know that our next president's not going to be.
You know, I hope and pray, and a lot of people say, oh, you old redneck, but I don't care. I hope and pray, and I mean this. As much as I despise, and I will underline that word and keep using it, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I despise what their plans and aspirations are, I do not want to see our nation erupt in violence. Why? Primarily because I'm so afraid of the very light mental health that Biden has. He might apply it to a martial law lockdown situation, and then we'd really be in trouble.
Exactly. And, you know, you're talking about how they were going to take us all and deprogram us.
Yeah.
Because of our Trumpism.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What about all the years that I lived before Trump was in office? I didn't change my mind about a lot of stuff. You know?
But people that are of conservative nature, and I am very conservative. I believe in the Bible. I believe in self-responsibility. I believe if you want to get ahead in life, you got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. I believe in conservative thought. That's how I was brought up. I have as much right to espouse those theories as anybody else does. I will not be shut up. I will not be reprogrammed.
Yeah. They're the ones that have been reprogrammed by China and Russia and
Amen.
whatnot.
Amen. Yeah, you bring up another interesting point to this Chinese deal. I'm really afraid in the first 90 days of this upcoming administration, we're going to see such a cozy up, kiss up, arm around each other attitude with China. And absolutely, I hate China. I hate the government. And I emphasize those words for what they have done for the rest of the world suffering over the COVID virus. I don't care what anybody says. That's my attitude, and I'm going to stick with it.
Exactly. It didn't have to happen.
It should have never happened.
It didn't have to happen to this extent.
Absolutely. I just, my heart goes out to all the families that have lost family members. I am sickened by what happened. Thank you for your call. I always appreciate talking to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
God bless. Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, one quick thing, Zeb. People need to watch that movie, Red Dawn.
Yes.
This may open up some eyes.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because I was just going to allude to that movie and Patrick Swayze and teenagers that fought back when there was a takeover of the United States. It's scary to think about, but may come to fruition, and you're 100% right, Tony. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
God bless you. Caller, before I do the weather, I'll take your call. Go ahead.
Zeb, I'm just on the outside looking in at what's going on in D.C., and these canaries that are in politics today that have caged themselves in there, it's time to nip this in the bud, and stuff those people down in West Virginia, those canaries down in West Virginia coal mine, and leave them there.
The value system of America that has made America great with our freedoms, whether it's the freedom of speech or whether it's the Second Amendment with the right to bear arms, you can go on down the line. I just absolutely am sitting here this morning, Earl, and I'm so afraid as of come Thursday, the first day in office for the 46th president, if you'll call it that, Biden is going to transition and change, like Schumer said weeks ago, change the entirety of America.
Well, I just don't want these people to take title to my life, my grandparents' lives,
Yes.
my grandkids' lives, and throw it all away.
Amen. Very well stated. Earl, appreciate your call back. Thank you very much. God bless you, man. Thanks. I'm going to tell the caller, hang on, I've got to get a weather forecast on about 60 seconds. Don't go away. I'll be right there, I promise. Want to remind you about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. The very, very best of hearing help to you, the best of technology, the best of knowledge, all there at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka County Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call to make an appointment, for your hearing health, 312-0957. Don't forget, give them a call today. They can, and they will help you. Got the hiccups all of a sudden. I'm sorry. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Might see a little snow coming up on the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Looking for sunshine today. Highs are going to be around 36. Mostly clear tonight with a low of 12. For Wednesday, looks like it's going to be sunny, maybe warming up just a touch, a high of 39. For Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low of 20. For Thursday, mostly sunny, a high of 39. And Thursday night, mostly cloudy, low's going to be 23. As we get into Friday, we'll have a 20% chance of snow with a high of 40. Snow continuing on through Friday night with a low of 24. And for Saturday, 20% chance of snow in the morning, then mostly cloudy with a high of 36. Good morning. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather for.
Thank you, Scotty. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, always providing expert diagnostic testing and combined with the best technology to help your hearing health. Call them. Make an appointment. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, I appreciate your patience. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Zeb, I want to congratulate our contingency at the legislators, that they have trimmed the wings of our governor, and I think we have got a good bunch of sensible people running this. Thank goodness Idaho has some control still.
Well, I agree that we have some excellent people up there. We're a little bit off topic on that, Keith, and I'm not going to veer away from that right now this morning. But later on this morning during the legislative update, we have Senator Kelly Anthon, and we'll talk more about that. Thank you very much for your call. Appreciate it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. And they're backing up. You know, with these guardsmen and the asinine, stupid, whatever word you want to apply to it, of the Representative Steve Cohen from Tennessee making some outlandishly dumb remarks, I feel sorry for the guardsmen. I really, really do. And I hope and pray all goes well for them during the inauguration tomorrow. But the left saying that they're coming for all of us that supported Donald Trump or his policies. Evil left wants all conservative voices silenced. I don't care what radio program, I don't care what television program, I don't care what print form, if you're voicing conservative opinions, they're coming after us. And they've made the statement that we are all a part of the cult of Donald Trump. This infuriates me. I don't belong to any cult. Never want to. Never wanted to. I don't think when I was a little kid I even joined the Mickey Mouse Club. I don't like that kind of stuff. But to be thrown into a slimy bucket from the Democrats and said, you supported Donald Trump, we're going to get you. We're going to stop you. We're going to ruin your life. That's the evil that right now this morning is out there. And talk about Joe Biden and his stupidity. And really, we saw it coming. He's even going to cancel and or stop the Keystone Pipeline. All the jobs that are going to be lost, all the work that's going to be thrown away, and our gas prices will, you guessed it, go higher, higher, higher. It's going to cost millions and millions and millions of jobs and dollars. That's the start of the Green administration with Basement Joe. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Let's use the Democrats' words against them right here. Weren't they the ones that said that you can't judge all Muslims by the acts of a few?
Yes.
Yes. Weren't they the ones that blame every legal gun owner by the acts of a few?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, tell me then, how come every Trump voter needs to be deprogrammed because of acts of a few on January 6th?
I tell you what, Doug, we can go ahead and make analogies, and we can make all kinds of statements, and we can come up with all kinds of stories. But I'm going to stick my neck out on the line here this morning, and I think you'll stand with me that starting on Thursday, and what's going to happen with executive orders and decrees coming out of that Oval Office with this administration, I think a lot of people are going to sit back maybe by the end of not this week but next week, and they're going to go, my goodness, what did we put in office?
Yes. And those useful idiots out there that say this is the best way to go, Orange Man's bad, they're going to be in the same boat we are.
Yeah.
They're going to be suffering just like the rest of us.
Pretty soon, the dog that you did not take down and get a rabies shot to is going to bite the neighbor, and you're going to smile because you didn't like the neighbor, but sooner or later the dog's going to bite you.
Exactly. Exactly right, sir. So the left, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any. But one thing I need to put out there, and this is just my feeling, if they're going to push this stuff on me, they better be willing to die for it.
Yeah, you're not kidding. There's got to be
die to stand up for my rights.
Absolutely. There has to be, for all of us, a line in the sand.
Yeah, and not the Obama line in the
That's
sand.
right.
Right.
That keeps
was kind of invisible, and he didn't draw it right.
Well, every day that he had to attest where that line was, he had to take it out of his pocket and lay it down again. I appreciate you, Doug.
The Trump line in the sand was definite.
Yes.
And that's where the American people need to be. We need to be definite.
Amen. Amen. Doug, I got another story I want to get in real quick, but thank you very much for your call. This has got so bad with the hatred for Donald Trump and Donald Trump's administration. I don't know if you heard this or not, but yesterday I was alerted to the fact that major publication companies like Simon & Schuster and others have come already out and said that if Donald Trump writes his memoirs from being the president, they will not publish the book and distribute the book. What? This is completely nuts. That's right. They said that they will not distribute or publish the book of Donald Trump's memoirs. They have already started to ban certain books from certain senators, conservative senators, and it's going to get a lot worse. They've already stopped all of Trump's sale of, like, the MAGA hats and the T-shirts and the Trump flags. What kind of a country are we living in? Want to remind you about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And, boy, while we're still on the air, we really appreciate them. They are the best at what they do. They make sure they provide service to you for your safe driving. The very best of tires, all the tread, designs, all the sizes for all vehicles. Absolutely. And, of course, if you're having a little brake problem, don't forget they've got highly trained brake technicians that that really know their stuff. Front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Oh, they've got the best of batteries at all 7 locations. Yes, I urge you to stop in and let these people serve you. James in Buell, Dan on Poline in Twin Falls, Lane in Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and, of course, my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, we're going to take a little break and come back, and I've got 2 really outstanding guests coming up next hour. Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance. He's going to be talking about this idiocy of rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. Day 1, Joe Biden said. Good old Basement Joe. And then at 9:30, we're going to talk to Michael Busler, Dr. Michael Busler on economics, and we're just going to talk about how much further can the United States absorb bad debt with the Democrats? Don't go away. I'll be back in 7. Oh, man. Makes you sick about these poachers, doesn't it? Absolutely lunatics. That's what they are. Good morning. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and service. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, I'm telling you, if you're not on the route service where once a week they'll come by and they'll pick your garbage up, it is gone. It's out of there. Absolutely. They are always at your disposal. How do you get on the route service? Well, you call the number 734-6969. They are the best to work with. Great, great people. Western Waste Services. Want to remind you, too, that yesterday, Mondays and Wednesdays, I go down to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation along with my lovely bride, and they have been so helpful to me with my bad knee and my hip. I'll tell you what, they are good. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists there are absolutely the most highly trained, knowledgeable people. They know all the exercises. They have the use of the hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in this area, and they can help you get back to being you. Absolutely. The number to call for an appointment, 678-1191. I'll repeat, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Real quick note that yesterday we had our dear friend on the air, Joel Heward, talking about some special event, very special event for you and yours on February 9th. That's a Tuesday. And what they're going to do at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert is basically have a drive-through in their parking lot to where you can pick up all the information that you need and you should have on vital statistic forms, veteran forms, information on traditional funeral services, cremation, all of this and more. And it's going to be, like I said, Tuesday, February 9th from 4 till whenever they're done at Hanson Mortuary. Put that on your calendar. It makes it easy for you and everybody to get the information they need. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and I have got so many questions for this man this morning. He is a part of the American Energy Alliance, my dear friend, Dan Kish. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm well and hope
you are.
I am, but I'm going to tell you something, my dear friend. I am very, very concerned about what's going to take place on Thursday, the first official day of basement Joe Biden taking over this country.
I'm right there with you, Zeb. I think a lot of Americans are very trepidatious, and those that aren't, at least don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a pretty stark change, and I don't think for the better. But we'll see.
Absolutely. Dan, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this morning, and we're already seeing and hearing and understanding what the Biden administration is probably going to do, and that's the shutting down of the Keystone Pipeline. My question to you is, why? It's such a beneficial item to have. It created all the jobs, and it has a free flow of oil that we need to help keep the prices down in this country. Why?
Yeah, well, this is all part of their religion of climate, and it's a religion. It's not about the environment, honestly. I mean, to these politicians, not only here but other countries. But let's get right down to it. It's not about the environment. It's not about energy. It's about power. It's about them being able to control and direct industries to do what they want, to make you buy the sort of thing that they want you to buy, to help their friends in those businesses, and many of them have gone directly from government jobs into those businesses, so that they become the ones, and to basically change the economy of the United States. I mean, it hurts the rural areas, and it benefits the urban areas where they have all the votes. So all in all, it's a political game. And unfortunately, it'll make the United States poorer. It'll make China richer. And, the delta between them and their economy and ours, although it was slowed under President Trump, the gap, a lot of people estimated that by now the Chinese would have had a bigger economy than ours. And although it was slowed, this is going to speed it right up. This is going to be like a shot of steroids.
Let me ask you this, Dan, and I'm not sure quite how to phrase this, but he has said, he being Biden, has said that on Thursday, the first day, he's going to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. Is the structure of denigrating and stopping the Keystone Pipeline one of those that would fall into the category of aiding and abetting the Paris Climate Accord? Is all this kind of a network of things I don't want to say look forward to, but are on the horizon?
Yes, this is all part of it. I mean, it's all part of if we can convince people, we can make people do what we want. If we can scare them that the earth is dying, that the world is coming to an end, and that they have to do whatever it is that we ask of them. I mean, that's what it is. It is a huge, huge power grab. I mean, the idea of rejoining the Paris Accord, which allows China to continue to go ahead and do whatever they're doing, and whatever they're doing is producing about twice as much carbon dioxide as we do right now, and burn 5 times as much coal as we do, and become the manufacturing base for the world. Talk about shipping jobs over there. That's what this is about. I wish I understood it all. I mean, I try to put my finger on it and try to figure out why people like George Soros are behind this. And the only conclusion I can come is that some people believe they're masters of the universe. They're the smart people, and they want to design our lives. And the one thing about our country and its limitations on government, which have been slipping over the years, is that rights belong to humans, to individuals, not the collective, not some smart people who sit in big buildings and tell us what to do. And we're slowly, but I'm afraid now, rapidly, going to be losing this now.
Let me ask you this, and I don't mean to kind of paint you into a corner here, but by rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, initially and then long range, what is it that the other members of this idiocy, will force upon us?
Oh, well, what'll happen, and what didn't happen because President Trump took us out of it, was, these other countries can say that they're going to emit so much carbon dioxide. They aren't doing it anyway. We're leading the world. We're the number one economy in the world because of our natural gas in terms of reducing carbon dioxide emissions. But leaving that aside, these other countries, in especially Europe, they typically they say they'll adhere to something, and they don't. They just sign on the dotted line, and then they go about their business. Their politicians will decide whether their people can, take the brunt of whatever it is they're going to instill on them, and they'll do it regardless of the numbers, just like they didn't abide by their commitments to pay up for the defense of Europe under NATO. And so what will happen is ultimately we, being the United States, groups that are for taking the energy out of the United States, reducing our economy and doing so under the guise of the environment, will be able to take it to court and sue. And we know how the courts are. They just rejected today a big President Trump's response to the Obama administration's carbon dioxide limitation program just this morning. So what's going on is we'll see us being ordered by the courts without due process through Congress, without people voting on it, without people having any say in it. It'll just happen, and people will say, well, why is my gas price going up? Why is my propane cost going up? Why is my fertilizer cost going up? We can't do anything about that because we agreed to this deal, and the courts have ordered us, and what the courts say goes. So that's what we're up against.
So basically, we are no longer a sovereign nation. We are no longer a nation that is leading the world. What we're going to do is sign on with a rowboat full of idiots, and we're the ones that are going to have to handle the oars.
Yeah, we're the ones be doing the pulling. Everybody else will be riding and probably popping champagne corks.
There you go. We have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. How will this affect us militarily, and how will this affect our shortage of oil, affect our allies out there in different parts of the world?
Good question. Dan, go ahead, please.
That's a great question. The United States, one of the things about President Trump's energy dominance theme was to use our energy resources, which are now the number one in the world, in terms of our production. We finally became energy independent, and then we were able to actually export things. We export natural gas to other countries. Those countries can take that natural gas and use it, and we get the jobs from it to run their economies, and then they don't have to be dependent upon the Russians or some other source for their energy. By backing off of our own production here at home, it increases the likelihood that people will be pressed to make decisions to run their economies because energy is so central to it. Energy is central to everything. Without it, your economy stops. People die and they'll overthrow you. in order to stay in power, they'll try to get the energy wherever they can. And if the United States is not there to supply it, if we're not, if we're not the lead dog, the view is the same.
Let me ask you this, and thank you, caller, for your question. And I don't mean to sound, kind of childish or first grade on this, but what happens when the American public, you and I, and my neighbor down the road, we can't afford financially to change or alter our lifestyle into purchasing or going along with higher cost electricity and or cars that run on electric batteries? We don't have the money or the income. What then?
Well, that's the part these masterminds will all figure out for us, Seb. You don't have to worry. I just read this morning that the state of New York, which has been taxing energy slowly at first, but now it's the tax is increasing. Like a lot of these states, they call it a greenhouse gas initiative. They put a tax, basically a carbon tax, and we'll see that rear its head on energy, and then they collect the energy, and then they'll give you a grant if you're a nice person and they like you and they agree with your political views. They'll give you a grant so you can buy an electric pickup truck with batteries made in China, with Chinese rare earth minerals and the like. That's the way it works. In other words, everything has to come from the government. Everything, your ability to live, your ability to work, your ability to be take care of your family, you have to be reliant on the government. That's what they want you to be. They want you to be reliant upon the government. When our country was founded, it was founded by people who wanted the independence to be able to go off and do in their own best interests, and all of us would benefit by that. You know, it made sense to clear the land and plant crops on it, because then you could continually reap the harvest that your hard work had given you, and there wasn't a government around to tell you couldn't do it. That's not the world they have in mind, and we have to remember, I mean, most normal people don't have a desire to lord it over other people or to become their masters. There are people, and they're unfortunately attracted to politics and have been for thousands and thousands of years, who are driven by the desire to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And it's only vigilance on behalf of the American public that has held it back so long.
Absolutely. Let me read, if I can, a news note that was sent to me earlier this morning. And I want to kind of take this apart and get your opinion. Biden pledged on his first day in office he would take actions that require, quote, aggressive methane pollution limits for new and existing oil and gas operations. And he said the goal is to develop rigorous new fuel economy standards aimed at ensuring 100% of new sales for light and medium-duty vehicles will be zero emissions, and annual improvements will be made for heavy-duty vehicles. Break that down for me, would you please?
Well, zero emission means theoretically electrical vehicles.
Right.
They forget that most of our electricity is made with by emitting carbon dioxide from natural gas, our number one source of electricity, and coal. What they're talking about is shifting us to an entirely electric vehicle fleet and somehow producing the electricity necessary to run all of our vehicles, to heat our homes, to run our factories. There will be no smokestacks. None. Because smokestacks mean something is being oxidized. There's fire involved. They basically want to ban fire, Zeb. That's what this is about. I'm not overstating it.
No, I know you're not.
You just read what their goal is. That's what they want to do.
Let me ask you this, though. There was a couple of words that really raised my eyebrows. He said that he is going to require aggressive methane pollution limits. Now, I'm not trying to sound funny when I say this, but there were a lot of Democrats over the last 2 years that have really been anti-animal agriculture, anti-feedlot, anti-dairy, etc., because they were complaining about the methane gas that's released. Does this standard that he's talking about also eliminate or try to eliminate animal agriculture in the United States?
Well, it'll all be part of it, Zeb. I don't know if it'll be there right away, but what they'll be doing is attempting to put limits by changing food, by changing diet, by changing a lot of different things in the animals across the United States in order to I mean, it's all part of it. Believe me, they think methane. I mean, I'm not sure they think that methane, but the belief is that the climate is the number one existential threat. We've heard Joe Biden say that every time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll find out there are other threats which are more existential. But,
absolutely.
But for the time being, this gives them a lot of running room. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And if you don't have a good crisis, create one.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're doing. Because to scare you into submission is their goal.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's about power. It's not about energy.
The other day on Fox News, one of the breaks I just was getting up from my chair to go in the other room, and I heard a story that they carried on Fox News about, what to do in case of electric car battery fires, and there was a lot of concern about them. You have already talked about this many, many times. Quickly elaborate. I've only got 2 minutes left, Dan, about the electric car battery fires and the dangers of these batteries.
Yeah, well, whenever you launch into something prematurely, because the government forces you to do it, you're going to bump into problems, and they're having problems. So, I'm sure that these can ultimately be solved, but for the time being, the problem is electric car batteries. We've seen it. We get a package with a battery in it, and it says it can't be taken on an airplane. Think about that times 1,000 or something that would be in an automobile, and if they catch fire, they have a hard time putting them out. You've got electricity issues because you're pouring water on top of a burning electrical device, and there's all kinds of toxicity with those Chinese batteries that is going to make them the number one economy in the world if these people have their way. And these are all part of the problems. There's many, many problems. Where are we going to get the copper for all the electrical engines? Where are we going to get all these minerals? They won't let us build mines here in the United States, so we'll be dependent on others.
Absolutely.
They aren't thinking this through. They think they're masterminds, when in reality they're just well-dressed idiots.
Very well said. And what a great way to end the segment. My dear, dear friend with the American Energy Alliance, I trust him, and he's always been straight up with this program, Dan Kish. God bless you, my dear friend. Look forward to next Tuesday.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless you.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Tells it like it is, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Dan Kish. Want to remind you, too, about Denny's Restaurant. Delicious food. You go in and sit down and pick up the menu, and all the menu choices are absolutely fantastic, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. My favorite over there, and Deanne's, too, the strawberry crepe breakfast. Oh, good, good, good. Any time of the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, dessert schedule, everything everything for you, and nice people serving you at America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those really good folks today. By the way, some other good folks that you need to stop and see, and that's, of course, our friends with Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, boy, Todd and the crew, they are busy serving you with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. You know, they really are dedicated and very accessible to helping you. Call them. Make an appointment. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. A real quick note before we get our next guest on the air. I want to remind you that when it comes to anything electronics, oh my goodness, do I know the people you should go see. And that's Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis, Lorena, the rest of the folks, oh, do they know? I mean, they can leave me in the dust. They've got so much knowledge about home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, all the TVs. Oh, and by the way, they've got a Sony touchscreen stereo, regularly $299.99, now just $269, and it works with an Apple CarPlay and Bluetooth. Check it out. Talk to the people that can help you. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Well, it goes without saying that I want the best people to come on my program and talk about the problems that we are incurring in this country. And this next gentleman has been on so many times, and I have the utmost respect for him and his education. He is a public policy analyst and a professor of finance at Stockton University. Dr. Michael Busler, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. As you know, it's always my pleasure to be here.
You know, I'm going to ask you this right up front. As a person that is watching, listening, reading, and studying all about the changes and transition that we're going to see with the basement Biden program, wow, should I be investing in gold or silver this morning and just kind of bury myself in my own basement?
There's some advice that would go along with doing that. I think in the short term, we're probably going to be okay. It's a little bit into the longer term. So, look, the economy is recovering. The third quarter last year was extremely strong. In fact, the highest growth rate we've ever seen. The fourth quarter started out okay, and then things started to slow down, and then in December they really slowed down. But most economists still believe that the fourth quarter will probably have about 5 to 6% growth, so still fairly good. For the year, we're going to be negative because the recession back in the spring was so bad. So going forward, it looks like the vaccine rollout's a little bumpy, but the vaccines are being rolled out. Most experts think that by May or June, we probably will have vaccinated enough of the population that we should have this virus under control. That, in addition to even the governors that have shut their economies, their state economies down in the fall of last year and going into December, they're now starting to reopen, even though the number of cases is still high. That's a positive sign also. So I think for this year, 2021, the economy should be fairly strong. They're also talking about a third stimulus package, which is both a good idea and a bad idea. It's a good idea because so much of the economy was shut down, and the rapid V-shaped recovery from recession that started back in May has flattened significantly. And, of course, there are people hurting, too. So the $1.9 trillion stimulus package that President-elect Biden has put forth will stimulate the economy for this year. So I think for 2021, we're looking pretty good. Now, beyond that is where we start to worry. So what kind of longer-term tax policy and spending policy will President-elect Biden be able to pass through Congress? from his viewpoint, the Democrats have control of the House, a very slim control of the Senate, so he should be able to get some things through. But we'll see what happens now. So what is he talking about? He wants to do away with the Trump tax cuts. The tax cuts passed in 2018. That will raise the income tax for everybody by about 10%. That will have negative impacts on economic growth. He's also talking about raising the corporate tax rate, which in 2018 was lowered to 21%. He's talking about raising it up to 28%. That, too, will have negative long-term effects on economic growth. He's also mentioned he may raise the capital gains tax, which today is either 20 or up to 23.8%, depending on how large the gain is. He's talking about raising it from the 23.8 rate up to as high as 39 or 40%. That, too, will have negative effects on economic growth. So he asked me what was going to happen, and I would say for this year, I think we're looking very strong. The mainstream economists are forecasting about a 6% annual growth rate. That will be the best growth rate we've had in decades. So that looks good. But again, going forward into 2022 and beyond, it remains to be seen how much President Biden will do.
But, Dr. Bussler, I do not have your education. I do not have your knowledge. But from a layman's point of view, when I hear that we're going to have severely increased energy costs that affect everyone, when I hear that our taxes are all going to go much higher, when I hear that there are proposed trillions and trillions of dollars for new policies and new programs, when I hear that corporations are going to pay up to 28% and they may start leaving this country again, how in the world can you tax yourself to prosperity?
The answer is, whether you're highly educated or a layman, the answer is that you can't do that. Raising taxes, and Biden will say, well, I want the wealthy to pay their fair share. Now, he never really defined what fair share is, and if you just look at some of the data from 2019, the last year I can find data, in 2019, the top 20% of income earners, the top 20%, paid 84% of all federal income taxes paid, which means the entire middle class, lower class, and some of the upper middle class, all of them, 80% of the population, only paid 16% of the taxes. So I'm not sure how he defines fair share, but you could argue that the upper income earners are already paying more than their fair share. So what's the real problem with raising taxes on higher income earners? Biden says, well, look, they can afford it. If they pay a little bit more, it's not going to hurt their lifestyle at all. And that's true, it isn't. But what it will hurt is capital formation.
Yes.
In other words, everybody, when you earn income, there's three things you do with it. You pay taxes, whatever left over, you spend or save. For higher income earners, they pay high taxes, they live a nice lifestyle, but because their income is so large, they have a lot of money to save. That money goes into capital markets and provides capital for expansion. If you raise taxes on the wealthy, or raise taxes on corporations, or raise capital gains tax, all of that reduces capital formation. We have a capital-intensive economy, which means if we're going to do any manufacturing, we don't hire a whole lot of people and make things by hand anymore. We can't compete that way, especially if we're making products in China. The only way to compete is to manufacture the products in highly automated factories using robots and artificial intelligence, and that will keep our manufacturing costs down. Well, in order to build those plants, you need capital. If we're reducing the amount of capital being created, number one, and if the federal government is incurring these huge deficits, which they finance by selling bonds, which removes money out of capital markets, the bottom line is there's not enough capital for business to expand. When that happens, because we pumped up demand with all this government spending, if business can't react to the increase in demand by producing more output, the only thing left to do is to raise prices. So by restricting capital formation, you stagnate the economy, and it will tend to lead to higher prices or more inflation. My fear is we run into a stagflation problem like we had back in the late 70s, where we had a stagnant economy, high unemployment, as a result, high inflation, and terrible economic conditions. How did we get out of that? President Reagan reduced tax rates for all Americans, especially the upper class, creating capital for expansion. The economy grew, the inflation rate came down, the unemployment rate came down.
Wow. Dr. Bussell, let me ask you this question. And I'm going to show some naivete here, and I should have done more homework on this subject. But where and when in our nation's history did small business in general succumb to being told by the government what they had to pay their workers? In other words, what I'm leading up to is a $15 federal minimum wage is going to destroy jobs. It's going to destroy businesses. It's going to take the employers and make them cut back instead of be progressively moving forward. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. Raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour will do exactly what you said. I mean, look, so to be fair, there are some economists that say, look, I can show you periods in history where the minimum wage went up and the number of jobs also went up. So you're wrong. Raising the minimum wage does not reduce jobs, is what they would argue. Now, their studies occurred at a time that the most widely cited one is by a Princeton economist done in 1992 that said the minimum wage went up in New Jersey and the number of jobs went up. Well, what happened was the economy was recovering, so demand for workers went up. So even if you raise the minimum wage, you're still going to get more people working because the economy's growing, but not nearly as much as you would have. Let's put this in more simple terms. So if a business has to pay somebody $15 an hour, somebody who's a completely unskilled worker, people that work at minimum wage, I'm not judging anybody here, I'm just looking at the facts. People who work at minimum wage have no skills at all. That's why they take minimum wage jobs. So you're asking an employer to pay $15 an hour for a 40-hour week for 52 weeks and then make the contribution to Social Security and Medicare that they have to. The bottom line is that's going to cost the business $33,000 a year to hire a worker that has absolutely no skills. How many jobs do you think will be available if you have to pay somebody $33,000 a year and they can't do anything? You have to train them how to do everything. The answer is not too many, and what will happen is labor will be replaced by capital. What does that mean? Instead of walking into a fast food restaurant and having a person take your order, you'll walk in, it's even starting today, you'll walk into a touch screen, put your order in through a touch screen, pay at the touch screen. You've eliminated labor, eliminated jobs, because labor's so expensive, and replaced it with capital, which is touchscreen. That's what's going to happen. It ends up hurting far more people than it helps by raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Let me tie in, if I could, another problem that I see on the horizon, and it's looming at our southern borders right now with these multi-thousand people caravans that are demanding, I hate that word, demanding that they come into the United States. That's going to cost the American taxpayer a bunch of money, and also jobs that might be available. I am really afraid, I'll use that word, of a devastating effect on our economy and our future with all these illegals coming in. What are your thoughts?
I'm with you 100%, Zeb. So recall when President Trump got into office, we had an open borders policy. There was 80 to 100,000 illegals coming into this country every month. Now, President Trump stopped that. To help stop it in the long term, he built 300 or 400 miles of wall, and as a result of that, now illegal immigration was held to a minimum. But now that Joe Biden will be sworn into office, the illegal immigrants are saying, look, Trump's out of there, Biden's in there, he's not going to throw us out, so let's everybody start coming. And what happens is they come into the country illegally. They're a burden on our social services. We have to take care of people who don't want to starve to death, number one. And number two, they're willing to work for a lot less money. And as a result of that, you're right, it pushes wage rates down and ends up hurting Americans. Look, immigration in this country is extremely important. We let in legally more than 1 million people a year. That's more than any other country in the world. We recognize the input from immigrants, but it's got to be done legally, and it's got to be done in a way that benefits the U.S. rather than hurts the U.S., and I'm as afraid as you are of what Biden's immigration policy will do.
And there's another segment of our society that I absolutely am fearful for because I'm a part of that segment, and that's the elderly. I fear for my friends that are voicing a lot of concerns about the complete rise in all the costs, whether it's groceries due to transportation costs, energy at the pump, electricity to heat their homes. The elderly are the forgotten group in this country, and I think they're the ones that are going to suffer the most with this bad economy.
I agree with you completely. So the elderly are on fixed incomes primarily. And when you're on a fixed income, you can't absorb increases in prices. Because of Biden's energy policy and is wanting to get rid of a lot of the drilling and the fracking and things, it'll reduce the supply of energy. Energy prices will go up. The elderly and people on fixed incomes can at least afford that. By reducing capital formation, as all of his tax policies will do, that too will lead to inflation, and it is the elderly that are really getting clobbered by all of this. The best thing to do is what I believe Trump did with the economy. Instead of giving people free stuff, which is what Biden wants to give them free health care, free college education, more food stamps, more welfare, more paid leave. He wants to give free stuff. Instead of doing that, President Trump gave them what they really want. These people don't want to take the free stuff. They take it because they don't have any other choice, but that's not what they really want. They want what President Trump gave them, the opportunity to earn enough income to pay for your own health insurance, your own housing, your own food, your own well-being. So, and you give them opportunity by expanding the economy, which is what President Trump did. He expanded the economy. We saw the unemployment rate got down before the virus down to 3.5%. Other than World War II, that's as low as we've ever had the unemployment rate. And not only that, real wages were going up for the first time in decades. So now there was plenty of opportunity for everybody at good wages. The poverty rate went down to a historic low. Income inequality improved, and the economy was doing very well, and these people were doing well. All of these social programs that Biden wants to put into effect will have a negative impact on, I think, the majority of the economy, and it will tend to stagnate things and lead to more inflation, which, as we said in the beginning, ends up hurting the people on fixed income the most.
Absolutely. I have time for one quick call. I've only got 3 minutes left. Caller, quickly, you're on the air.
Well, I just was wondering, is there any way we can slow down this agenda? Because they stole the election in Georgia, and I don't know if our House and Senate leaders in the Republican Party have any real will to do anything. I mean, what is going to happen? I mean, if the economy, if they just take what was so great and because of their agenda destroy it, will they not pay the price? And will we not be able to take back the Senate and the House in 2 years? And will we ever win another presidential election? I'll hang up.
It's a good question. Doctor, please.
Excellent question. So what you can do in the short term is to write or email or phone your congressperson or your senator and let them know what you are in favor of and what you're not in favor of. Your caller made a good point. The next 2 years are going to be very difficult for us because the Democrats have control of both the House, the Senate, as well as the presidency. But 2 years from now, we'll be able to exercise our voices at the ballot box. The hope is if we can get control, if the Republicans get control of the House of Representatives, that are only 5 or 6 seats away from doing that, and if they get control back of the Senate, and they're only 1 Senate seat away from doing that, they'll be able to stop this agenda. All President Biden will be able to do is things through executive orders. Now, there are some things he can do there, but the major changes will have to go through Congress. We'll contact our Congress people now and tell them what we are and what we're not in favor of, and then we'll exercise our voice in 2 years from now to finally change things.
Real quick final note, the American public and small business has absolutely been dragged through the mud for the last 9 to 10 months because of the Chinese virus. And to go ahead and implement a higher taxation program, to me, is just absolutely a slap in the Americans' face. I don't know if, honestly, of small business, many of them, and more so that have passed away because of the COVID problem. I don't know how much more small business can absorb.
Not much at all. In fact, they can't absorb anything. You should be helping them rather than hurting them. Remember, the vast majority of new jobs are created by small business.
That's right.
We need small business to thrive, and you're right. They've been clobbered. The government at the state level decided which businesses could stay open and which could be shut. The Walmarts and Target, because they sold food, they allowed them to stay open through all of this, and they sell not only food but everything else. All the small business people are being clobbered by this. Every day I'm seeing statistics about the number of restaurants and other small businesses that are closing and will probably be closed for good. They need help, not higher taxes.
Amen. Dr. Michael Bussler, a true friend of this program, a public policy analyst and professor of finance at Stockton University. God bless you, sir. I learn more every time you're on the air. Thank you, and come back soon.
Thank you, Zeb. Look forward to being back.
Thank you, sir. Wow, I just thoroughly enjoy him. He lays it out so everybody can understand it. And I will say that we're in trouble. We're in trouble with this administration and this kind of thinking that they can tax into prosperity. Ain't going to work. And it's going to hurt a lot of people. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by our friends, the professionals at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. They have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area and beyond for well over 50 years. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. That's with an L, not panning. Planning, payroll services, all of this and so much more with the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Might see a little snow coming up on the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Looking for sunshine today. Highs are going to be around 36, mostly clear tonight with a low of 12. For Wednesday, looks like it's going to be sunny, maybe warming up just a touch, a high of 39. For Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low of 20. For Thursday, mostly sunny, a high of 39, and Thursday night, mostly cloudy, low's going to be 23. As we get into Friday, we'll have a 20% chance of snow with a high of 40. Snow continuing on through Friday night with a low of 24, and for Saturday, 20% chance of snow in the morning, then mostly cloudy with a high of 36. Good morning. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast.
And brought to you by our friends. And believe me, these folks are sharp. And they can help people starting a business or maybe changing over to a corporation, or maybe you want to expand and hire more employees. Your business, your family, they can help absolutely. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. They are the professionals with accounting services, with offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Wow. Don't forget, coming up at 10:32 this morning, the Idaho Legislative Update, and it has been confirmed that Senator Kelly Anthon will be on the program this morning, and we'll be finding out a lot more as what's going on up at the legislative session in Boise. Brought to you by Handy Truck Lines. We're looking forward to that. Right now, I want to remind you, too, I told you this yesterday, and it really, we had some people stop by the house Saturday afternoon late, and we hadn't seen them for a long, long time. They're from out of the area, and we were sitting there, and we were going, we'd made plans to go over to Wick's Steak Place and Burnout Saloon at 18 East Main Street in Declo, and they stayed, and they stayed, and they stayed. Well, finally, it got too late. We didn't make it. I was looking forward to a great prime rib. Well, I still am this next weekend. I'm going to call Kim and saying, yep, we're going to be there come heck or high water. Don't forget, it's a great place to eat lobster, chicken, ribs, steaks. Oh, the list goes on and on at Wick's Steak Place and Burnout Saloon. I love that name. 18 East Main Street in Declo. You stop over. They're open Wednesday through Saturday before the closing. I'm hungry. I didn't need to hear me say that. I'm hungry. Anyway, we're going to take a little break. And we're going to send it back over to Sean for a couple of minutes. And then, as you know, on Tuesdays, we will be celebrating the return and the walk down the red carpet of Dr. History. He's probably sitting out in my yard right now with a beautiful, thoroughly washed and clean pickup, which makes me very jealous. And he'll be coming in at 10:06. And then, like I said, the Idaho Legislative Update at 10:32. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch will be back in about 7 minutes. We're going to put this whole program on hold for a couple of minutes. Dr. History and I have not finished talking. Morning, welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, with the best in tires and service to you, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind everybody about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, hello, Jeff, over there, and the whole crew at 459 Overland in Burley. Man, they've got all kinds of shipments in of sofas and recliners and sectionals and all kinds of chairs. You name it. It is there for your comfort at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, and by the way, they're having a big sale right now on floor coverings like carpet vinyl, luxury vinyl planks. What are you waiting for? Jump in the four-wheel wonder and head on over to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturdays, 10 to 4. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Well, we have put it off as long as we can. His entourage is out in the other room, resting comfortably as he is going to be on the radio. And right now, here he is. The trumpets, please. Here's Dr. History.
You know, Zeb, you need to have a bigger driveway because my limousine just won't fit.
I noticed, and I'm sick and tired of you driving over my lawn. Come to think of it, that really happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've been careful. I've been careful. So I'm going to start out to say hi to 3 of our listeners. Mark, who appreciates and likes our stories. Chuck, who is actually down in Arizona near the Superstition Mountains.
Oh.
And he's suggested we do a story on the Pleasant Valley War, so I'm going to look into that. Another guy, Michael, has suggested the name of a guy I've never heard of. His name is Jim White, and he is a buffalo hunter. So those are going on my list of stories to talk about. So
by the way, right there in the desk in front of you, I laid another idea for a story out that I want you to take with you.
Okay, I will.
You know, you've got a great following, and I enjoy having this on my show every Tuesday, and I'm sure as a button that you're going to have another good story this morning.
I'm going to hope so.
Who's this one about?
Okay, well, I'm going to start off. Okay, look at this book, Zeb.
Oh.
Okay, so here's what the author says. Quote, Black Cowboys of the Old West highlights the accomplishments and achievements of black cowboys, giving them the recognition they deserve.
Tip your mic up just a touch more, if you would.
How's that?
A little bit more, yeah. A lot of people don't realize when they watch the old 1960s show called Rawhide, where they were driving the cattle up from Texas, all the cowboys were white. That's not the case.
No.
That wasn't the case.
So today we're going to talk about a guy named Jesse Stahl. Have you ever heard of him, Zeb?
I never have.
Jesse Stahl. Okay, you'll know a lot more at the end of this story.
I'm sitting here.
Okay, picture this. Okay, the gate opens, and the thrust of Glass Eye's first jump out of the pen nearly gave Jesse Stahl a whiplash. It was clear from the onset that Glass Eye, the horse, was as rank a horse if Jesse had ever met one, the most vicious, wildest bronco he had ever ridden. Now, none other than the great bronc rider Jesse Stahl stood a chance of staying on this wild horse. So we are at the Salinas Rodeo in California, and back then it was dubbed the Wild West Show of 1912 in Salinas.
Rodeo. No, seriously. At Salinas, it's called Rodeo. The California Rodeo.
All right.
Yeah, they changed the pronunciation.
Okay, well, it lived up to its name.
Yep.
So now, the object, and you know this, Zeb, of bronc riding contest was to stay on the horse the longest time with no daylighting or letting light show between the saddle and the cowboy seat. The first jump out of the pen held the most potential for raking up the highest score. As you know, as the cowboy comes out, he has to spur, right?
Well, a lot of things have changed, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, now, good old Glass Eye, this horse, he bolted out of the pen. He came out kicking the lid off and did not stop the entire ride. His front legs lifted off the ground. A split second after his back legs, his body twisted back and forth in midair, landing him in the exact opposite direction from which he had begun the jump. The fans at the rodeo went wild. At the top of his jump, Glass Eye would roll his body suspended in air, turning his belly toward the sky while throwing his head to the right and left. And as soon as he landed on the ground, he continuously swapped ends, bucking forward, upward, one direction, and coming down, facing the other way. Every time the horse hit the ground, he went into the air in the reverse area. This bronco would do something unpredictable every few seconds.
And he was sold as a kid's horse.
Jesse's right hand had a death grip on the reins, and his left arm flapped in midair while holding tightly to his hat in true Stahl signature style. Now I'm going to show you a picture of this
I want
horse.
to see that. Okay.
Okay. Now you just take a look.
That was old Glass Eye.
Now you've seen a lot of bucking horses, Zeb.
Was that taken at Pendleton?
I'm not sure.
Oh. It doesn't say, huh?
It says Colorado, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, here he is. Well, old Glass Eye, he could gyrate in more directions within a 15-foot diameter than seemed possible, but Jesse's split-second timing allowed him to stay on the horse. The horse reared up on his hind legs so high that it was in a nearly vertical position. Now, that's when you get a little scared, Jeff, of coming over backwards. Mm-hmm. Stahl stood straight up in his stirrups. He held on for dear life, almost like he was defying gravity and hoping the horse would not pull a fall back, intentionally falling to the ground on his back. Well, just as Glass Eye's front feet landed, he was back in the air, changing position, spinning around.
You're making me sick.
Spinning around in a circle. Anyway, somehow Jesse maintained his balance in this 180-degree turn. I mean, Jesse synchronized his spurring action to Glass Eye's gyrations with perfect timing. Now, keep in mind, with all this, he's still spurring that horse.
This guy's a pretty good hand.
He is, and you'll know more here in a little bit. Well, good old Glass Eye was a force to be reckoned with. This wild bronco seemingly had an endless reserve of energy. Then suddenly, Glass Eye unexpectedly quit out of pure exhaustion.
Just gave it up.
Not a moment too soon for Jesse Stahl. Anyway,
Wow.
So the pickup man, he rode by, and Jesse quickly swung onto the horse behind the rider. So Jesse had unknowingly achieved national fame.
Really?
It was the most spectacular ride ever witnessed. I mean, it was just with that description, Zeb. I mean, you've seen a lot of horses buck.
Can you imagine, though, in today's rules of 8 seconds, how good and how long that horse would have lasted?
And it doesn't say how long, but it had to go on for quite a while. Yeah. But, the fans were they just erupted in applause. And anyway, Jesse obviously was the winner of that contest.
Obviously.
So Jesse seems to have appeared on the rodeo scene out of nowhere. He began riding in 1912 when he was about 30 years old. That's kind of almost getting too old to ride. Yeah. But some say he was born in either Tennessee or Texas, while others claim he came out of California. He was said to lack a southern drawl. Various sources claim Stahl was born in either 1883 or 1879. They just don't know.
Oh, my.
But nothing is known about his childhood other than he had a brother named Ambrose, and both brothers joined the rodeo circuit, but only Jesse went on to fame and some fortune. Now, Jesse's physique and his confidence kind of intimidated his opponents. He had long, sturdy legs, which he was able to wrap around the bronc's flanks, which prevented the poor bucking horse from upending him. He was 6 feet tall, 225 pounds.
That's big for a bronc rider.
Yeah. But he was a lean, mean, horse-fighting machine.
Ooh.
And perhaps Stahl came by skill through hard work that was given to the African-American or the black cowboys on a ranch. Now, I didn't know this, Zeb, and I don't think you did either, but while the white cowboys ate their breakfast each morning, the black cowboys were given the job of topping off 6 or more broncos or wild horses that had yet to be broken to a saddle or harness.
They were not invited in to eat until after the whites had taken the horses and left for the work.
Yeah. Yep. But consequently, some of the best bronc riders were the African-American boys.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. The rough breaking a horse took 2 or 3 rides before it was broke, and Jesse would have had to ride the wild right out of the horse before another cowboy would even come near it. So he took the fight out of him. And when the other cowboys saw Jesse in action, they just shook their heads in admiration that he was such an amazing guy.
Now, you said he came from Texas.
Well, they're not sure.
I see.
Not absolutely sure. But now, Zeb, I'm going to take a chance and bet you have never heard of this.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. The art of hula handing.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay. This was invented by Jesse Stahl.
I didn't know that.
And he would wow sellout audiences with exceptional performances. Now, this is how it went. Mm-hmm. Jesse was the master hula hander. No one could perform this like him. So here's how it happened. A raving mad bull was snorting and bucking the sides of a pen at one end of the arena. At the opposite end, Jesse was mounted on his horse, waiting for the signal to begin. He cantered his horse around the arena a few times in a nice, smooth, easy gait before the audience, but he would check his ropes, tighten his gloves, gather his courage, kind of mentally getting prepared, and it was him or the bull. When the signal was given, the creaky gate unpinned the bull, and all eyes shifted from Stahl to this huge 2,000-pound bull that wasn't in the best of moods after being kept in a corral for a little while.
Yeah.
So this good old bull bolted out of the gate and then stood still until it spotted Jesse on his horse. The bull snorted, pawed its hooves, and ran full speed ahead. Well, Jesse made a wide circle around the arena, raced up behind the bull, and with just perfect precision, he timed his jump perfectly, leaping from his horse onto the back of the bull. He forcefully landed on the bull's neck and grabbed both of its horns with his hands. Instantly, Jesse shifted his weight to the left, pulling the bull's left horn down with him. Now, the forward momentum of the bull continued, but at a kind of a different angle. Now, this trick jammed the bull's horn into the ground with such force that the horn dug a deep hole.
Yeah, and then flip him.
Dug a deep hole and rooted itself like cement into the ground.
Yeah.
And the hula-handed bull sat ear to the ground with his body twisted awkwardly. Jesse raised his arms above his head. The audience went wild, and the bull could not get loose.
Yeah.
Its horn was stuck in the ground. And it was not until the cowhounds carefully freed this furious, defeated bull that...
The word carefully.
Yes. I wouldn't want to have been on that team. Anyway, I had never heard of that, Zeb. An amazing feat.
Well, basically, it was the beginning and the birth of the event called steer wrestling.
Right.
Eventually.
Yeah. But anyway, one day something went really bad with his exhibition.
Well, I can imagine.
He successfully hula-handed a bull, but unfortunately the bull snapped its own neck, killed the bull. Not long after that, another accident happened to another bull. So hula-handing was outlawed.
I see.
No more. Which... I don't know that anybody could do that nowadays, really.
Well, no, it's not a question of who could do it, it's who'd want to.
That's another good question. So here we have, in 1917, Stahl set a steer wrestling record at the 3-day Pendleton Roundup in Oregon, and his record stood for many years. He was a phenomenal athlete, which, you would have to imagine he was a good athlete.
Well, 225 and over 6 feet.
Yeah.
A pretty solid dude.
Yeah. Now, Stahl had a friend by the name of Thomas Ty Stokes, and he was also another African-American rodeo great, and he was from Kentucky. He was an expert trick roper who could keep 6 ropes spinning at the same time. Jesse and Ty were contract headliners who amazed audiences at rodeos and expositions all over the country with their trick riding. Now, here's one of the trick rides that they did. I would love to have watched this. It's called Jesse and Ty's Suicide Ride. Okay.
The word suicide always leads one to think of,
what is going to happen?
Yeah, right.
But it drew big crowds. So here's what they did. The 2 cowboys would ride one bucking horse together, sitting back to back. One rider faced forward, the other faced backward. The confused bucking horse did everything in his power to throw them. Jesse and Ty took turns alternating positions as, each required a different skill to stay on. Well, they received a great deal of notoriety over this trick riding, which earned them $25. And some other cowboys tried to do the same thing, but nobody was ever able to do better.
$25.
Okay, and you're going to say, how much is that worth? Right now, today, it would be nearly $300. So that's not
It's not nearly enough.
Not for me. Not to get on one even straight forward. Anyway, now here's another trick that he had. He knew all the horses in a rodeo by name, and he knew exactly what to look out for. He could tell a great deal about a horse by how it came out of the pen and entered the arena. Now, some came out bucking, kicking, twisting, or pitching right out of the box. Others ran first and then bucked. And you may have heard of this one, Zeb. A cloud hunter is likely to rear up. Yeah, and a frog walker had short hops.
Yeah.
I never heard that before. But anyway, saddle bronc riding was Stahl's favorite competition. It was the principal event at a rodeo and also the most popular among the fans. The rules were simple. The rider had to hold the reins in one hand and not touch anything with his free hand. The cowboy who stayed on the bronc the longest
that's where I'm glad the rules finally changed.
Yeah,
they ran through a lot of horses.
Yeah.
By the way, what year was that?
That was 1917.
17,
yeah.
Okay.
But, and they had to ride the horse to a standstill until the horse stopped. Anyway, Jesse Stahl was revered by rodeo fans. They turned out to see him, and he was hard to beat. When competing, Jesse made a nice living, but unfortunately, rodeo was predominantly a white sport.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, any cowboy, white, black, or Mexican, could enter a contest, but this didn't always guarantee that everybody got a fair shake when it comes to the competitors. Some white cowboys refused to enter a rodeo if they had to compete against Jesse. And the promoter sometimes asked Jesse not to compete, but just to give these exhibitions and stuff. Yeah. And
Did they pay him for that?
Yeah. And he was actually paid quite a bit as a contract performer rather than a contestant sometimes. Now, there was a particular time Jesse did not get a fair shake because of his race. He let the judges know it. And this was the case at a rodeo in John Day, Oregon in the 1920s.
Oh, my.
After coming in second place in the saddle bronc riding contest, and it was well agreed upon that Jesse should have won first place. He didn't complain. He didn't say anything. The exceptionally talented rodeo performer simply got on a second wild bronc named Tar Baby and rode it backward with a suitcase in one hand as if to say to the judges, I'm going home, demonstrating to the judges that he knew he'd been cheated out of the win. And from then on, audience insisted on seeing him ride a bronc backward with a suitcase in one hand.
Holy moly, this guy was
He
tough.
was something. He was something. Anyway, Jesse enjoyed all aspects of the rodeo. He was a hard worker, and a lot of times he could be found among the cowhands when they were putting up the pins of the corrals or taking them down. He wasn't just a prima donna, you know. But there were a lot of rodeo greats, but Jesse Stahl kind of set the standard of performance and continues to be respected by rodeo riders across the country to this day. But there was a time when Jesse Stahl put on quite a show at the San Ardo Rodeo. I've never heard of that. ARDO, San Ardo.
Where was it?
I'm not sure.
California?
Just not sure where it is. But anyway, he'd drawn a wild horse that was known for throwing any rider that attempted to mount it. And when the horse's blinds were pulled off, it went full-blown crazy to upend Jesse. The bronc would jump sideways in the air with all 4 feet off the ground, and then it would spin and come down as hard as it could. Jesse held on and answered each jolting motion. Hang on, you know, at last. Now, by this time, they shot a gun off, okay? So the blank cartridge went off, and the ride was over. And after the pickup man got Stahl safely out of the way, the spectators ran out to congratulate him and shake his hand. Okay, and Jesse humbly responded to their enthusiastic reception by saying, quote, well, folks, I'm a long way from home and I'm broke. I had to make a good ride. So, just, again, an amazing athlete. But his peak riding years were 1919 through 1923, when he was in his late 30s or early 40s.
Wow.
And he retired in 1929, died in 1938. So, had to be...
Where did he pass away? Where did he live the rest of his life?
Not sure. I'm going to say maybe Oklahoma because
it sounds like he spent a lot of time up here in the Northwest.
Yeah, but he was posthumously inducted into the Oklahoma City Rodeo Hall of Fame in 1979.
Oh, my.
And he was only the second black cowboy to receive that honor.
I wonder, and I would have never known because I didn't equate with the name, but I wonder if he's in the Oklahoma City Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Well, that's what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is in there.
I see.
And there's only 2 that are in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesse Stahl.
Jesse Stahl. Stahl.
Yeah.
So, you know, he kind of ended his career in 1929, so, you know, 90 years ago. But what an amazing athlete.
Yeah, and today there's just a plethora of great black athletes involved in rodeo.
Yeah,
lots
you see that
of
all the time.
Yeah.
But again, you know, you look at the professional rodeo people, especially in the riding events. You know, when they hit about between 30 and 35, they're about...
Yeah, 35, and, you know, then they're starting to think about other things that are less hurtsome.
You know, as a chiropractor, Zeb, I watch those guys on the saddle bronc, and every time that horse jumps forward and their neck flips back.
Well, it's a dangerous game playing with large farm animals.
It is. I've come off a few horses in my day, and luckily I'm still here to talk about it.
Yes.
But
those of us that are in their 70s still haven't learned, like me. I still play with them.
Yeah, but you probably have a well-trained horse that will not bug.
Well, one never knows on a cold winter morning.
That's true. Yep. That's true. Yep.
But I did not know Jesse Stahl. That was a good story.
Yeah, and, you know, we've talked about Nate Love, Bose Icard, Isom Dart.
Yeah. Do you have a list of the names that they feature in there?
Yeah.
I was just curious in that book if they had a list of names.
Yeah, we've got Nate Love, Robert Lemons, Bill Pickett.
Bill Pickett, of course, invented the steer wrestling, only did it in quite a different fashion, but he's synonymous with that event.
Yeah, Jim Perry, Charlie Willis, let's see, George McJunkin.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's a good book.
It is. It's got some great stories in here about these men that were great athletes.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. History, with an entourage and a very, very worldwide audience that listens and hangs on every word. There you go.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you. By the way, I was going to tell you, we were going to go over the last week, and we couldn't. We had some company. We're headed over this week to go to Wick's Steak Place and Burnout Saloon. You've been there.
I was there last week.
I heard it's really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, you're
18
like
East Main Street in Declo. Boy, I'll tell you what a great place to eat. Lobster, chicken, steaks, ribs. Oh, it's all there for you. Wednesday through Saturday from 4 o'clock till closing time. Nice, nice people serving you at a great place to sit down and enjoy. Wick Steak Place and Burnout Saloon, 18 East Main Street in Declo. We'll see you over there this weekend. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our dear friend Sean at the main studio. We'll be back with more in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much. And boy, I look forward to Tuesdays to finding out what's happening at the Idaho legislative session for 2021. And of course, it's brought to all of us by Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul. Handy Truck Lines, providing trucking services throughout the western United States. And believe me, their hauling services include flatbed trucking, bulk pneumatic trucking, liquid tank trucking, and van delivery. The very best serving you, Handy Truck Lines. Thank you very much. With us on the Idaho Legislative Update for today, and we're very honored to have him on the program, Senator Kelly Anthon. Senator, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb, and thank you very much for letting me be on, and I hope you're doing well, too.
Very much so, and I'm so glad to have you on the air. And I think what I'll do is kind of turn it over to you and let you tell the audience exactly now going into, the second or third week of the session, what's happening and what are you involved in?
Sure. Well, yeah, let me tell you first a little bit, Zeb, about what I'm involved in here at the Idaho State Senate. As you know, I represent District 27, which is the Mini-Cassia area, Minidoka and Cassia counties. And that's a real honor all its own. But where I serve in the Senate is I'm the majority leader. So I'm the Senate majority leader. I represent the Republicans in the Senate. And I also serve on the Senate State Affairs Committee and the Senate Judiciary and Rules Committee. The Senate State Affairs Committee is the committee that handles some of the hardest issues that come before the Idaho legislature. This morning we dealt with a piece of legislation that has to do with ending the emergency orders of the governor. That's a real challenge, a really difficult issue. In the Judiciary and Rules Committee, it's kind of my comfort zone because it's a place where you talk about the lawyer stuff and probate and criminal codes and things like that. So we take a look at those portions of Idaho law that need to be changed, and so that's a place I've kind of found my home. But this is an interesting year, Zeb, as you can imagine. It's different in the Capitol. It's different in the Capitol because of COVID. It's different in the Capitol because of security concerns. There are fewer visitors. There's just a different feel in the Capitol than any other year. The other thing that is different this year, Zeb, is there seems to be it's almost like we've waded in as quickly as we can into the real substantive stuff. And usually, I guess I would say to you, just the pace of the legislature is such that it takes a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, before you're really in the middle of debating substantive legislation, but we're already there. And so that is these are changes that are interesting in the Idaho legislature that I thought maybe your listeners would be interested in.
Absolutely. May I ask a question if I can interrupt right there, Kelly? Emergency orders of the governor. You kind of ran past that. Explain that just a little bit more.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from my constituents is a concern about orders from the government, and they can be from not necessarily the governor. They can come from your local health districts. They can come from your city councils, your mayors, your county commissioners, and so on. But orders from the government that in people's minds just don't make a lot of sense. And I'll give you a flavor, and I think it probably goes without saying. But when I get constituents call me, they're asking questions of me like, why is it that I can't go to a gymnasium that has a seating capacity of 2,500 people to watch and spread out? We can spread out, we can wear masks, we can do all those things, but watch my son's basketball game.
Absolutely.
But what we can do is we can go to Costco, we can go to Walmart, we can do all kinds of those things. And I will be honest with you, Zeb, I don't have solid answers for that, because there are, in many respects, things that just don't make a lot of sense in the orders that we've seen as a response to COVID-19. So the legislature is struggling now through a very, very, I will tell you, Zeb, a very convoluted legal structure on how you fix that. So many of your listeners may have heard, but there are a couple of resolutions in the legislature to end the orders of the governor, the emergency order of the governor. But here's what they're not telling you. Ending the emergency of the governor all on its own without any other wise strings attached doesn't amount to much.
Mm-hmm.
It won't stop these mandates.
I see.
It won't stop the school closures, the stay-home orders, the business restrictions. It won't stop that stuff. So I am more interested in the real, conservative solution to some of these problems, while keeping people as safe as possible. And the other thing that is not really being very clearly, I think, articulated is if all you ever did was end the emergency order of the governor, what you're doing is you're cutting off FEMA funding. And that FEMA funding is not the CARES Act funding, that's different. But FEMA funding is money that's going to your Meals on Wheels programs. That's money that's going to your National Guard. That's money that's going to provide, safety stuff for your nursing homes. And so there are factions in Idaho that say, so be it, end that government receiving money, end the FEMA money, stop the FEMA money. But when you end the FEMA money, you don't end the program.
Yeah.
And so if you stop that FEMA money from rolling in from the federal government, you know who's going to pay for it? The taxpayers of the state of Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are weighty matters that are really occupying the legislature right now.
Go ahead, Kelly. We've got a quick call, and I'm going to ask the caller to be very brief. Go ahead quickly. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm going to try and be brief. Okay, I was wondering, how do we, could I work to get a rule change in the state legislature?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to visit with you about that. The rules are a very interesting animal, because the rules are promulgated by the executive branch of the government, the governor's office and his administration, whether it's the DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, whether it's the court, there's a whole series of administrative agencies, and so it kind of depends on where that rule is being promulgated. But here's what's great about the state of Idaho. I mean, there's so many great things, but here's one great thing about the state of Idaho. We are one of the few state governments who has, in the power of the legislature, the right to throw out a promulgated rule. So, actually, I think you can make progress there, and in other places of the country you can't. So I'd be happy to work with you on the particulars, but the trick is you have to start probably by talking to a legislature, and maybe you'll get somewhere with the administrative agency. But that's how you take care of an administrative rule.
Caller, does that answer your question?
Oh, I'm sorry, I hung up on him.
Oh, okay. Kelly, I want to go back real quick, and I want to talk to you about the governor and orders. And in a free society, I do not understand. Please help me. In a free society where people are putting their business lives on the line every day to open their door and hope the public comes in and does business to keep them going and afloat. But then to have a decree that, well, we're going to allow this business to stay open and we're going to shut this one down. I cannot understand how you can have a merit of some are not essential and some are.
Well, it's a great point, Zeb, and it goes back to this issue of orders that don't make any sense to folks. And I've lived in Idaho my whole life with a few little excursions out for college and some other things. But the fact of the matter is, the people that I represent, I know well enough to know that if there's something that needs to be done to take care of each other, to take care of the community, to not spread disease, and they know, and it makes sense, I believe they're going to do it.
Right.
With very few exceptions. I think that is a good description of the whole of the people of Minnecash area and of the Magic Valley. But some of these orders, and you've just described one, don't make any sense. The authority of someone in the government to decide which businesses is essential and which one's not essential. And as you think of that in your mind and you look around at what businesses have been opened and which have been closed and which have been allowed to move forward and which haven't, it's troublesome.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is that the Idaho Senate, under the leadership of the Senate Republicans, in August, filed their own resolution, and we have indicated that our intention is to make sure that in the future anybody who works, anybody who runs a business, who contributes to our tax collection, who have families to raise, are essential to the economy.
Absolutely.
And that is a unanimous position of the Idaho State Senate Republicans.
I've got another caller, but I'm going to take the call, but we're short on time. Caller, again, you're on the air. Please, go ahead.
I'm the caller that got cut off.
Okay.
I want to be as succinct as I can. This has to do with the circuit breaker program for property taxes against homes. I own a home, and my father, who's deceased, is also on the title because he ended up on Medicaid. When I applied for the circuit breaker, because I'm a low-income individual, I only get half the tax break because he is on the title to the home. And specifically, I think that's wrong. I mean, he's deceased. He's been deceased 10 years, but I cannot remove him and list it, the title under just underneath my name because the state won't allow me. Now it costs me half the circuit breaker. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay, good. Okay. Kelly, please.
Yeah, and sir, thank you, Zeb. And sir, I'd be happy to visit with you about that as well. Actually, last year, I wrote and sponsored legislation to fix the circuit breaker. It did not get a hearing in the House. It passed the Senate with, I think, everything but one vote. But we need to do some upgrading, some updating to the circuit breaker laws in Idaho. These are the laws that help disabled veterans, the blind, the widowed, afford their property taxes so that they are not kicked out of their homes. It's the low-hanging fruit of how you fix our property tax system, and I have some hopes that we can get some fixes made there. But to answer his first question, some of that can also be changed by a bill in the legislature, not just waiting around for the administrative branch to do something.
Okay. Kelly, pick up quickly. I've got exactly 7 minutes left on this segment. Pick up and tell us where you're headed, what committees you're serving on again, and what are the most important issues, and then we'll take another call. Go ahead.
Well, I think besides some of the emergency powers issues, which are really what we're trying to do is rebalance the balance of powers.
Right.
I feel, members of the legislature feel that we have unbalanced the balance of powers. It's not personal to anyone. It's certainly not personal to the governor. It's time to fix some problems that, frankly, the legislature created about 40 years ago. So that's a key issue. I think the other key issue this year is going to be taxes. And really the need probably for some tax relief. That is evident by the fact that Idaho is now sitting on a $600 million, probably one time in many respects, surplus. And so we need to be doing either productive things with some of that money, like fixing our roads, or we need to be giving that money back to the people. And so we have, there are priorities in education, priorities in transportation, and possible tax cuts that I see coming this year.
A real quick question, and then we'll take the call. With that $600 million surplus, would it also not be I think it'd be wise to keep some of that, if you will, for another rainy day?
Boy, Zeb, you are preaching to the choir. I will tell you that the hawks in the Idaho legislature to put some savings away for rainy day are Senator Kelly Anthony and Representative Fred Wood. The two of us have been outspoken on that issue because all you have to do is look back to 2008, 2009, when we had the recession. We chewed through our savings in a hurry. And by comparison, I don't feel we're as positioned as we should have been this year as we were in 2008, 2009. So it's time to put a little bit of this money into savings to make sure that when the real troubling times come, that we can make sure that essential services are moving forward.
Amen. Amen. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please.
Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
I'm so impressed with you and the Senate and the representatives from Idaho that they finally got the governor somewhat under control, because I don't think he's been doing a good job.
Well, I can say this to you. I'm sympathetic because what I do recognize is that a couple things about Brad Little. Number one, he was put in a very difficult position where kind of no matter where you step in a pile of manure. So I get that. and the second part of it is that I know him well enough to know that he's not a guy that sits around dreaming of how he can take away your constitutional rights. I get that too. But again, back to this notion that orders from government should not restrict our constitutional rights in very, very limited circumstances. I mean, and even so, I mean, that's debatable.
Yeah.
But what is clear is that people will do the right thing if the orders or even the recommendations make some sense. But the fact is, what I'm seeing in my community are things that just frankly don't make sense. And so I'm all about bringing some clarity and some common sense back to the solutions for COVID-19.
Okay, here's my take on the whole thing. The governor thinks because he is the governor that he is the almighty. He is not. If he would listen to you folks that we send to Boise, because you're out here in the field, you know what's going on. And he's sitting there in his leather chair, making all these regulations like these shutdowns and stuff like that. If he wants to be reelected, he needs to start listening to you guys.
All right, caller, thank you very much. Kelly, respond quickly, and then we'll move ahead.
I'll just real quickly say thank you, sir, for your call, and thank you for your support, because we do need your support.
Real quick, Kelly, and I apologize for the lack of time, but it goes so fast. What other issues should we as constituents be really concerned about that you're addressing up at the legislative session?
Well, Zeb, I kind of mentioned it, but I'm always tuned into transportation issues.
Yes.
We need a good infrastructure. We need a good highway system to keep business rolling. And that's something that we have struggled in Idaho to fund properly, in my opinion. But nowadays you have some of these larger trucks. We've talked about this before, Zeb, that weigh 129,000 pounds, and yes, they distribute that weight over a number of axles and so on and so forth. But we shouldn't be, in my opinion, making business bend to government regulation to their detriment.
Yeah.
So if we have a transportation problem in the state of Idaho and we've got the money, we should be fixing the roads so that our businesses can thrive.
Absolutely.
That includes our dairies, that includes our sugar beet haulers, and sometimes the response from government is, well, tough luck, you aren't going to be able to have that truck. And I just think that's a little ski-wampus. So I'm of the opinion that if we have the funds and we are not overburdening our residents, our taxpayers, let's put that money into something useful. Let's fix the roads so that our businesses can move forward and make a lot of money.
Okay,
that's the way it should be.
Let me interrupt right there and let me ask you a question right there, Kelly. Pardon my interruption. But if you have an onslaught of an idea from the current administration that's starting as of day after tomorrow of pushing for more of the green energy of the electric cars, etc., there's got to be a fair tax for those people to pay for the road usage, just like those of us that are putting in gas or diesel.
Well, boy, isn't that the truth, Zeb? And what you find out is people who have big ideas often don't like to pay for them.
Amen.
They think they've got the corner on what is right and wrong and what's truth, but when it comes time to put it out of their own pocket, they'd rather take it out of yours. And that happens with government sometimes. And the fact of the matter is that it boils back down to what we were talking before, which is solutions have to make some sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we all agree we want to keep the environment clean and moving forward in that way, but there are cost-benefit analyses to do before you make some of these big decisions.
Absolutely. Kelly, I apologize to you. I just really do look forward to having you on my program. You're so articulate and lay out everything in a very understandable fashion. I'm out of time. Senator Kelly Anthon, District 27, and also the Senate Majority Leader. I am proud to have him on my program for this Idaho Legislative Update. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for letting me be on, and keep me heading in the right direction. Call me if you need something.
I will, sir. Thank you very much. The legislative update brought to you by Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul, founded back in 1928. And Handy Truck Lines, very efficient, safe, and dependable service provider for the Northwest. And we thank them for sponsoring our Idaho legislative update. Real quick, I've got some things to take care of. First of all, Edith's Cafe. Hello, folks over at Edith's. My goodness, they're easy to find. Right there on 144 East Highway 81, right across from the golf course. You can't miss them. They're open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 8, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 9. Oh, you're going to love the food. Everything from sandwiches to steaks, and they do catering. My goodness sakes, they've got it all for you and your dining enjoyment right there at Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. The number to call, 878-2248. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, time for the weather. Actually, it's past time for the weather, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely the best of meats from Scarrows Meats. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. And, of course, give them a call, 324-7657. All the prime rib and, of course, smoked turkeys and all the bratwurst and the sausages and the bacons. It's all there at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Might see a little snow coming up on the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. Looking for sunshine today. Highs are going to be around 36, mostly clear tonight with a low of 12. For Wednesday, looks like it's going to be sunny, maybe warming up just a touch, a high of 39. For Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low of 20. For Thursday, mostly sunny, a high of 39. And Thursday night, mostly cloudy, low's going to be 23. As we get into Friday, we'll have a 20% chance of snow with a high of 40. Snow continuing on through Friday night with a low of 24. And for Saturday, 20% chance of snow in the morning, then mostly cloudy with a high of 36. Good morning. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast.
I appreciate you, Scotty. Excuse me. Thank you, Scotty, for doing the weather for Gina this week. Appreciate it. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of his great staff at 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Want to give a great big shout out and thank you once again to our great big major sponsor. I mean, they are there to serve you with the best of tires. They've got the best tire value promise in the industry. They're always there to serve you. And I urge you to stop in and see them today. All the tires, all the tread designs for all sizes. Yes, sirree. And they always come at a high lope to say, may we help serve you. Absolutely, with also the best invest in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Oh, yeah, they're all there waiting to serve you right now at the 7 locations: James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The Bible verse for today is short and sweet from Proverbs 12, verse 6. The wicked accuse, the godly defend. How true. Right now we want to wrap it up and say the way things were, the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most to me: in God we trust. And we're going to be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Have a great day. We'll see you then.